welcome to another episode. We have Uli Hildebrand with us. Tell me a little bit about you.
All right. What can I tell you about me? So, as you can probably tell by this funny name that I have, I wasn't born in the US. I was born and raised in Germany. And my actual name is Ulrike, which nobody can pronounce. So Uli is just a little better. And I've lived most of my life in Germany, but I've come to the United States in the year of 2000. Lived in New Jersey, right across the Hudson River from Manhattan, and was there right through 9/11. So that was a very trying time. It was difficult, but I came here with a company called Mercedes-Benz. Have you heard about them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a car company.
It is a car company. So I worked for Mercedes-Benz a total of 10 years, 6 of which here in the US. And then, and like I said, my first years were in New Jersey, and then I moved to Michigan, worked with an automotive supplier for a while. And then I've moved around. So I've basically been here in the US since the year 2000, almost 26 years.
Cool.
In 2008, I made a really tough decision, a really good decision, one of the best decisions I've ever made, but it wasn't an easy one. And the decision was to buy a horse. And why was it so tough? It was a tough decision because having a horse is a great responsibility, So a horse is not like a tennis racket or a golf club that you can just put in the corner and say, I'm not going today, I don't feel like it, or it's cold or it's raining. A horse is a living creature and you have to take care of him. And so this horse's name is Buster, and Buster's been with me now for almost 18 years, and he will turn 24 in May.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about your job at Mercedes-Benz.
So when I came here to work for Mercedes-Benz USA, that's the sales organization of the passenger car division of Mercedes-Benz. I started out as the so-called chief of staff. So I came here to work as the right hand of the CEO. And my job was to be the liaison between him and his executive team and the rest of the company. So I would make sure that my part of my job was to organize executive meetings. Yes, I would take minutes there and I would distribute them. But I would also, travel with them when they went to product launches. One of my very first trips was to Las Vegas when they launched a new C-Class at the Mandalay Bay. Have you ever been to Las Vegas, Leo?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's worth a trip. Yeah, I don't know that you need to go every year, but it's worthwhile seeing. And back then, the Mandalay Bay was brand new, so that was a really interesting experience for me because as the person who worked directly with the CEO, I was treated just like him, like royalty. I mean, people were bending over backwards to make sure I was happy and things were the way I wanted them. It was really interesting. The other really interesting thing that happened right in the beginning of my trip, within the first 4 weeks of my arrival. Have you ever been to Indianapolis to the car race, racetrack? Indy 500? Okay. Back in 2000, that was the very first time in I don't know how many years that Formula One actually brought a race or did a race in Indianapolis at the Indy 500 track. And I went. And of course, I had no idea what was coming, but, they gave me a pass to the pit, which, and I still to this day have a vest that they gave me. And, I was able to see the drivers and the cars. It was kind of really cool, although I didn't really need it. But, the interesting thing in hindsight was they paid probably around $4,000 for my ticket, to be able to go to the pits and see it. And I was like, I didn't really care that much about it, but it was nice to be treated like that.
What is your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Are you saying backwards in my life or looking back onto my life? Yeah, well, one of my biggest challenges in my life was I had an accident, a sports accident, and I ruined my knee and my right knee. And with that, my any type of athletic career was over. And I was 17 years old when I had that accident. So it, it was a long, long recovery. I eventually ended up having surgery. It took a full 8 years for me to be able to walk stairs without a limp. And I was really done with, the sports that I used to love and that I, used to do. And well, how did I overcome it? I don't know that I had a real strategy to do that. I think it was really a process that took some time to accept. For a long time, Leo, for a long time, I was very unhappy and felt like this is really unfair. And why does this happen to me and not to anyone else or to someone who doesn't care about sports? But then, of course, someone who doesn't care about sports doesn't play sports. And so then it get hurt playing sports. So kind of logical. But anyway, it was a very long time accepting it. And what the thing that I learned from it is that sometimes a couple of things. One is sometimes you just have to accept what happens. And with the acceptance, it's much easier to move forward. I also learned to look left and right and put my problem into perspective. There's so many people out there who can not only not do sports, they can't even walk, or they can't, or they have to wear special shoes, or they have to have a crutch, or there's so many people out there that have it usually a lot worse. I learned that putting things in perspective is helpful to manage whatever challenge you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about life in Germany.
Life in Germany. Well, so I'm going to put a caveat on that. As I told you, I've lived here in this country now for almost 26 years. So the life that I know from Germany might not be the exact same life that people live there today. But I can tell you a couple of fundamental differences. So back then in Germany, Saturday, the stores, let's start there. Stores were open Saturdays from like 8 to 12, and then everything shut down. Yeah, so Saturday afternoon, all Sunday, weekends, holidays, stores are closed. And it was a cultural thing, because the country wanted people who worked in stores also to have time with their family. So now that leads to, and also stores closed at 5 or 6 p.m. So there wasn't you can go at 10 o'clock. So that led to, if you needed some food, milk or whatever, at that very same day you had to leave work, right on time, so you would be able to make it to the store to get your stuff. So that's that was one of the, for us Europeans, I'm saying, or for us Germans, to come here to the US and know that, or see that everything's open all the time is wonderful. But it has its downside, right? Because there are people who work in retail and they never get to spend time when, they don't have time off when everybody else has time off. So, so life in Germany, work life in Germany has been, different. I will tell you, when I came to the US and in my very first job here that I just talked about, after I would say a month or so, my boss said to me, he was very happy that I was there and he thought that things are going really well. And I left his office thinking, I'm in so much trouble. I don't even know what's coming to me. Because in my experience prior, when I worked in Germany, the only reasons why I would hear from my boss was I either picked up my work or I made a mistake and something went wrong. And nobody in Germany back then would ever tell you, it's great that you're here and you're doing a great job. That just didn't happen. The philosophy is, you go, spend your time, you work, and in exchange, you're getting paid. So it's expected that you perform.
So, cool. What is something you are proud of yourself for?
Something that I'm proud of? I was very, and I still am to this day, pretty proud of the fact that when I worked at Mercedes-Benz, they actually promoted me to the head of HR in that, in that company. And so they told me I was the very first non-native person to run an HR department ever in the history of Daimler-Benz.
Oh,
And so I thought that was pretty cool.
when you were scared, what is something that helps you feel brave again?
I'm sorry, say that again. When I'm what?
When you are scared, what is something that helps you feel brave again?
When I'm scared, you know, uh, I find again that putting things in perspective is always helpful. There's always something that's even scarier. Um, but I also break things down to very tiny steps. So if I'm standing in front of a mountain and I know I need to get up there and I have no idea how to do that, I'm going to try to break it down in little steps, something that I can manage. And sometimes it's scary to make decisions, life-changing decisions. It was scary to decide that I'm not going back to Germany. It was scary to decide to buy a horse because it was a huge commitment, as I told you earlier. But I think when I'm scared, I try to focus again on what I've done already, what I've managed, how bad can it be? What's the worst thing that can happen? And usually it's really not that bad, you know. So far at least, I'm grateful, not to have had an experience where it actually got worse than I thought. So
If you think we could all do one thing to change the world, what do you think it would be?
if we could do what it should be, you mean?
Yeah, if we could change it into a better place, make it better.
Mhm. Um, I think the one thing or one of the things that would, if everybody could be kind to themselves and to everybody else, and not jump to conclusions and not judge other people because of the way they look, where they act, where they speak, just accepting others the way they are and who they are.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think if I could do that, I wish I could, if I could go back, I wish that I would live a little more in the present and less in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think we all look towards the future and what the future would will be, but we never look on what what could be now, you know?
Well, I think, at least for me, I was raised in a way that put the focus on everything you do needs to make sense down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I did, that I was, as a kid growing up, my education, everything was meant to lead to a job that would put me in a position where I can fend for myself. It wasn't about the job needs to be fun. It was about the job needs to earn enough money. So, and so everything that I've done, pretty much most of my life has been with the outlook of how does this help me later? And really at my age now, where I'm at today, I'm thinking I missed a lot of things as I was living it. I think I just didn't. There's a lot of things I didn't notice. There's a lot of things I don't remember.
So we are down to the final question. Are you ready?
I don't know. Am I ready? Did you
Yeah.
prep me enough?
I think you are.
Okay, good. Well, then
Yeah, you
let's
have to
give it
be
a try.
self-confident in yourself. Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is orange.
Oh, cool. I think it's sometimes kind of hard to debate whether the sun's orange or yellow. Sometimes I think it's orange just because, I don't know, it looks more orangey, than yellowish. I don't know why, but just kind of is.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's going to be it for today's podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, is there, maybe a website where people can find out more about you?
Sure. You can go on my website. My website is pinpointtalent.net. It's PIN-POINTTALENT.net. Pinpoint Talent, pinpoint with a dash. Yeah, and that's where you can find out a little bit more about me.
And tell us about what you do on that website.
Well, that website talks about helping companies reduce turnover, save some money, retain the right people in the job, and doing that by building an organizational structure that will allow people to develop in their career.
Cool. Well, that's going to be it for today's podcast. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and also turn on notifications so you guys get notified when I do make a new video. But it was nice having you here.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me, Leo. You have a safe trip wherever you're going, okay?
Well, thank you. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.